Hello, this is TCG and welcome to the 10th lecture on the CompTIA Security Plus 601 exam. Let's get started. Identity and Access Services, Radius or Remote Authentication Dial-in User Service. Radius is a centralized authentication, authorization and accounting management software and was originally made for dial-up lines. This kind of software is also called a AAA software. It has three components: the client, which is the device requesting access, the server, which is also called the radius server that authenticates and authorizes the request, and the NAS or network access server, which acts as an intermediary between the client and the radius server. TACACS or Terminal Access Controller Access Control System. TACACS is also a centralized authentication and authorization service, but is more granular than Radius. XTACACS or Extended TACACS is an enhanced version of TACACS with additional features. TACACS Plus is the latest and the most secure version of TACACS, offering more features and enhanced security. TACACS also has a client, server, and network device similar to Radius. Kerberos. Kerberos is a network authentication protocol designed to provide strong authentication for client-side server applications by using secret key cryptography. It has three components: the KDC or the Key Distribution Center, which is a central authority in Kerberos that authenticates user and provides tickets, the TGS or Ticket Granting System, which is a part of the KDC that issues service tickets, TGT or Ticket Granting Ticket, which is a ticket issued by the KDC that allows a user to request service tickets. Single sign-on or SSO. Kerberos enables SSO by allowing users to authenticate once and gain access to multiple servers without re-entering their credentials. A Radius server uses the TCP protocol and encrypts only the password, whereas TACACS uses the UDP protocol and encrypts the entire packet. Kerberos uses both TCP and UDP protocols and uses secret key cryptography. IEEE 802.1x. IEEE 802.1x is a standard for port-based network access control or PNAC, providing an authentication mechanism to devices wishing to attach to a LAN or wireless LAN. It has three components: the supplicant, which is the client device requesting access, the authenticator, which is the network device which controls the access, an authentication server, which is typically a Radius server that authenticates the supplicant. This protocol also has EAP enabled, which means that the devices will not gain access to the network until authentication. Federation identities. Federation. Federation involves creating trust relationships between multiple organizations or domains, enabling users to access resources across these domains using a single identity. This is particularly useful in scenarios where organizations collaborate and need to grant access to their resources without forcing users to manage multiple sets of credentials. Federations contain an identity provider, which is the entity that authenticates the user and provides identity information, and the service provider, which is the entity that consumes the identity information and provides services to the user. SAML or Security Assertion Markup Language. SAML is an open standard for exchanging authentication and authorization data between parties, specifically between an identity provider and a service provider. It enables single sign-on by allowing users to authenticate once and access multiple applications using the same credentials. Zero Auth. Zero Auth is an open standard for access delegation commonly used to grant websites or applications limited access to user information without exposing credentials. It is often used in conjunction with OpenID, in which case the OpenID connects the handled sign-on, whereas the Zero Auth handles authentication. Access control. Authorization. Authorization is the process of granting or denying specific permissions to a user, program, or process. It determines what an authenticated user is allowed to do within a system or network. The granted permissions depend on policies and rules set up by the organization. Mandatory Access Control or MAC. MAC is a strict access control model where access rights are regulated by a central authority based on multiple levels of security. Access is based on security labels, which are assigned to resources and users based on the security classification. Discretionary Access Control or DAC. In a DAC, resource owners get to decide who can access their resources. DAC uses ACLs that specify which groups or users can access a resource and what actions they can perform. Role based Access Control or RBAC. RBAC assigns permissions to users based on their roles. It simplifies the management of permissions by grouping users into roles. Attribute based Access Control or ABAC. ABAC grants access based on attributes of the users, resources, and the environment. It combines and evaluates multiple attributes to determine access and hence provides fine grained access control. Rule based Access Control or RBAC. In RBAC, access is granted or denied based on predefined rules. Using RBAC, access control can be automated based on certain criteria or specification. File security systems. A file security system controls access permissions to the files and encrypts sensitive data. File security systems are built into the OS by default. Conditional access. Conditional access evaluates multiple conditions before granting access to resources. It is a security approach that grants or denies access based on specific conditions such as user location, the device health, and risk level. Privileged Access Management or PAM. PAM controls and monitors privileged access to critical systems and data in order to prevent misuse of privileged accounts and reduce the risk of insider threats. Public Key Infrastructure or PKI. PKI manages the creation, distribution, and verification of digital signatures. It relies on asymmetric encryption. That means it involves two keys, public keys and private key. Key Management Lifecycle. Key Generation. Key generation uses algorithms such as RSA or ACC to generate random and secure keys. Key storage and distribution. Public keys after creation are distributed via digital signatures, while private keys are kept confidential. Key usage and rotation. Regular key rotation ensures that keys do not become a vulnerability over time. Key revocation and expiration. Keys can be revoked if compromised and are set to expire to limit the risk of long-term use. Digital certificates. Digital certificates are documents that use a digital signature to bind a public key with an entity's identity. It is often used for authentication, establishing secure connections, and ensuring data integrity. Commercial Certificate Authorities or CAs. Commercial CAs issue digital certificates to organizations and individuals, verifying their identity. Commercial CAs are widely trusted by browsers and operating systems. Some famous examples are Symantec, DigiCert, and Let's Encrypt. Private Certificate Authorities or private CAs. These are made for internal use and provide greater control over the certificate lifecycle. It also allows the organization to tailor policies according to their specific needs. PKI Trust Infrastructure. The PKI Trust Infrastructure establishes a hierarchical trust model consisting of root CAs, intermediate CAs, and end entity certificates. Root CAs is the ultimate trust anchor in this model, which means that it is the top level CA that issues certificates to intermediate CAs. Registration Authority or RA. A registration authority verifies the identity of entities requesting a certificate. Once approved, the CA issues the certificate. Certificate Attributes. Common Name. A common name specifies the domain name or identity the certificate is issued for. Subject Alternative Name or SAN. SAN allows multiple domain names to be associated with a single certificate. Expiration. Certificates have a validity period after which they expire. This attribute ensures that certificates are renewed periodically. Key revocation and CRL. Keys may be revoked if they are compromised, no longer needed, or the certificate's validity is terminated. CRL or certificate revocation list contains the serial numbers of revoked certificates. Real-time revocation details. OCSP or Online Certificate Status Protocol. It is a protocol that allows real-time checking of a certificate's revocation status. It allows the browser to query the CA about the status of a certificate and provides up-to-date revocation information, enhancing security compared to CRLs. Digital certificates. Web Server SSL certificates. A domain validation certificate or a DV confirms that the applicant owns the domain for which the certificate is issued. This is the simplest kind of validation. An EV certificate or an extended validation certificate provides the highest level of trust and security by confirming the legal, physical, and operational existence of the entity. A subject alternative name or an SAN allows multiple domain names to be secured with a single certificate. A wildcard certificate is used to secure a domain and all its subdomains using a single certificate. For a wildcard certificate, an asterisk is added in the beginning. Code signing certificates. Code signing certificates verify the identity of the software publisher and ensure that the code has not been tampered with. Root certificates. Root certificates are self-signed certificates issued by a root CA and are the topmost certificate in the trust hierarchy. Machine and computer certificates. These certificates are issued to devices rather than individuals or domains to authenticate the machine on a network. These certificates are used in enterprise environments to ensure that only authorized devices can access network resources. Email certificates. Email certificates or secure MIME certificates are used to sign and encrypt email messages. Using digital signatures, the recipient can verify the sender's identity and trust that the email has not been altered. User certificates. These certificates are issued to individuals for various purposes, such as digital signatures, authentication, and encryption. Certificate formats. X.509. X.509 is a standard defining the format of public key certificates. These certificates are used in many Internet protocols, including SSL and TLS. DER or Distinguished Encoding Rules. DER is a binary format for encoding data structures described by ASN1. DER is a subset of the BER or Basic Encoding Rules format, ensuring a unique encoding for each data structure. PEM or Privacy Enhanced Mail. PEM is a base 64 encoded format that includes header and footer lines. PEM encoding makes it easy to include certificates in text-based formats such as emails. PKCS number 12 or Public Key Cryptography Standard number 12. It is a binary format for storing a private key with its associate public key certificate, optionally including a certificate chain. It is commonly used to export and import certificates and private keys. It can be password protected for security. PKCS or Public Key Cryptography Standard number 7. PKCS number 7 is a standard format for storing a certificate or certificate chain. It can include certificates and CRLs, but does not store private keys. It is primarily used in Windows for Certificate Trust List or CTL. Certificates. Online and Offline Certificate Authorities or CAs. Online CAs can revoke, issue, and manage certificates in real time. They are vulnerable to attacks since they are accessible over the internet but are convenient to use. Offline CAs are disconnected from any network to enhance security. They are only connected to a network when necessary, such as during the issuance of root certificates. They are less convenient than online CAs. Generally, root CAs are offline and are connected to intermediate CAs. This is done in order to maximize security and reduce the load on the root CAs. OCSP stapling. OCSP stapling is an extension to the SSL TLS protocol that allows the certificate holder to obtain a time-stamped OCSP response from the CA and staple it to the TLS handshake. It improves performance and privacy by reducing the need for clients to contact the CA directly to check the revocation status of the certificate. Certificate pinning. Certificate pinning involves associating a host with a specific public key or certificate, ensuring that only a specific certificate or public key can be used to establish a connection. These certificates are used to prevent man in the middle attacks by ensuring that even if a CA is compromised, attackers cannot use fraudulent certificate to impersonate the host. PKI trust relationships. These relationships are hierarchical and involve multiple levels of CAs, from root CAs to intermediate CAs, down to end entity certificates. Each certificate in the chain is signed by the certificate above it, ensuring that all certificates can be traced back to a trusted source. Key escrow. Key escrow is a security measure when cryptographic keys are stored securely within a third party, known as the escrow agent. This ensures that the encrypted data can still be accessed if the primary key is lost or third parties need access to the keys. It introduces risks related to the security and trustworthiness of the escrow agent. Certificate chaining. Certificate chaining refers to the process of linking a certificate back to a trusted root certificate through a chain of intermediate certificates. Each certificate in the chain is signed by the previous certificate, forming a path from the end entity certificate back to the root CA. Reconnaissance tools. Traceroute. Traceroute is a network diagnostic tool used to track the packets take from the source to the destination. Traceroute works by sending packets with incrementally increasing time to live values. Each router along the path decrements the TTL by 1 and sends back an ICMP time exceeded message when the TTL reaches 0, allowing the source to map the route taken. Traceroute uses ICMP echo request packets in Windows and UDP packets by default on Unix or Linux, but it can also be configured to use ICMP or TCP. NSLOOKUP is a command line tool used for querying the domain name system to obtain domain name or IP address mapping. It is used to query specific DNS records, troubleshoot DNS issues, and verify DNS configurations. DIG is a more flexible and detailed command line code tool for querying DNS servers. It is preferred by network administrators for its detailed output and advanced query options. It can perform the same tasks as NSLOOKUP but with more control over the query. ipconfig and ifconfig. These are tools for Windows and Linux CLI that display the current network configurations, including IP addresses, subnet masks, and default gateways. These tools are used to view and manage the IP configurations of network interfaces, renew DHCP leases, and flush the DNS cache. Ping. Ping is a command used to test the reachability of a host on an IP network and measure the round trip time for message sent from the source to destination. The ping command sends an ICMP echo request packet to the target and listens for ICMP echo reply packets. The tool reports on packet loss and latency. Netstat. Netstat displays network connections, both incoming and outgoing, routing tables, interface statistics, mask rate connections, and multicast memberships. It helps in monitoring network performance, troubleshooting network issues, and identifying open ports and active connections. Address Resolution Protocol or ARP. ARP is a protocol used to map an IP address to a physical map address on a local network. The ARP command is used to view and modify the ARP table. The route command is used to add, delete, or modify routes inside the IP routing table. Curl is a tool used for transferring data with URL syntax, supporting a wide range of protocols such as HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, and more. It is used to interact with web servers, download files, and test API endpoints. IP scanner. An IP scanner is a tool that scans IP addresses and ports to discover devices on the network. HPing is a networking tool that can send custom TCP IP packets and displays replies similar to ping but with more control over the packet parameters. Nmap or Network Mapper. Nmap is a powerful open source network scanning tool used to discover hosts and services on a computer network by sending packets and analyzing responses. Nmap Scripting Engine or NSE. NSE allows users to write scripts to automate a wide range of tasks, from network discovery to vulnerability detection and exploitation. The Harvester. The Harvester is a tool used for gathering emails, subdomains, IPs, URLs, and other publicly available information or OSINT from different search engines and public sources. It is commonly used for passive reconnaissance. Sniper. Sniper is an automated scanner used for vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. It integrates various tools and performs reconnaissance, scanning, and reporting. It can identify vulnerabilities and provide detailed reports on target systems. Scanless. Scanless is a tool that lets you perform port scans from a third party server to avoid detection by target. It is used to bypass firewalls and intrusion detection systems by hiding the source of the scan, making it difficult for the target to trace the scan back to the attacker. DNS enumeration or DNS enum. It is a tool used to enumerate DNS information, including subdomains, IP addresses, and other DNS records. It is also used for DNS reconnaissance to gather information about a target's domain DNS infrastructure, identity subdomains, and discover potential attack vectors. Nessus. Nessus is a proprietary vulnerability scanner developed by Tenable. It helps identify vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and compliance issues in various systems. It also provides detailed reports and suggests remediation steps. Cuckoo. Cuckoo is an open source malware analysis system. It is used to analyze suspicious files and URLs by running them in an isolated environment or a sandbox and monitoring their behavior. It helps identify malware characteristics and potential impacts on a system. File manipulation tools. CAT. Short for concatenate, CAT is a command line utility used to display the content of files, concatenating multiple files and redirect output to files or other commands. Head is a CLI utility that outputs the first part of files, usually the first 10 lines by default. Tail. Tail is a command line utility that outputs the last part of files, usually the last 10 lines by default. grep. grep or global regular expression print is a CLI utility used to search text or search the given file for lines containing a match to the provided regular expression. chmod. chmod or change mode is a CLI utility used to change the access permissions of files and directories. chmod uses a 3-character string to represent the permission settings for each category, be it owner, group, or others. Each character can be read R, write W, X execute, or dash for no permission. Shell and script environments. SSH or Secure Shell. SSH is a cryptographic network protocol used for secure data communication, remote command line login, and other secure network services between two network computers. It also creates encrypted tunnel for other security protocols. Windows PowerShell. Windows PowerShell is a task automation and configuration management framework from Microsoft, consisting of a command line shell and associated scripting language. CMDlets or commandlets are built-in commands for various tasks such as managing files, services, and processes. Python. Python is a high-level interpreted programming language known for its readability and broad applicability, including system scripting, web development, and data analysis. It can be used to write scripts to automate repetitive tasks, or can be used to develop or use existing security tools like SCAPI for packet manipulation and or PyCrypto for cryptographic operations. OpenSSL. OpenSSL is a robust, fully featured open source toolkit for TLS and SSL protocols. It is also a general purpose cryptographic library. It deals with certificate management, encryption and decryption, hashing, and testing SSL and TLS connections. Packet tools. Wireshark. Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer that allows users to capture and interactively browse traffic running on a computer network. It allows us to inspect packet details, follow TCP streams, and analyze protocol hierarchies. TCP dump. TCP dump is a command line packet analyzer. It allows users to capture and display packets being transmitted or received over a network to which the computer is attached. TCP replay. TCP replay is a suite of tools used to replay, edit, and analyze previously captured network traffic, enabling the reproduction of real network conditions. It is used to validate security defenses by replaying attack traffics or analyzing network behavior under specific conditions. Forensic tools. DD or data dump. DD is a Unix and Linux CLI utility for low-level copying and conversion of raw data. It creates a bit-by-bit copy of a disk or partition and converts data formats during copying. It is also used to create backups of critical data. Memdump. Memdump is a command line utility for dumping the contents of system memory or RAM to a file for forensic analysis. It allows us to analyze live stream memory to gather information about running processes, open network connections, and other volatile data. WinHex. WinHex is a hexadecimal editor and disk editor for Windows that can help us analyze digital evidence and generate reports. It can also inspect and edit raw data on disks, files, and memory. FTK Imager. FTK Imager is a forensic imaging and data preview tool developed by Access Data. It is used to create forensic images of hard drives, CDs, DVDs, USB drives, and other media files. It is used to view files and folders on the disk without making any changes onto the disk. It can also be used to recover deleted files and extract specific files from forensic images. Autopsy. Autopsy is an open source digital forensics platform used to analyze hard drives, memory, and mobile devices. It can be used to investigate the file systems, including NFTs, NTFS, FAT, and ext, and hence create a timeline of file activity. Exploitation framework. An exploitation framework is a set of tools and utilities used to develop and execute exploits against targeted systems. Some famous ones are Metaexploit Framework, Core Impact, and Canvas. They can be used to identify and exploit vulnerabilities in systems and applications, conduct penetration tests to assess security posture, and develop and deliver custom payloads for exploitation. Password crackers. Password crackers are tools used to recover passwords from data stored in or transmitted by computer systems. Some famous password crackers are John the Ripper, Hashcat, and Cain and Abel. These softwares crack hash passwords using various techniques including brute force, dictionary attacks, and rainbow tables. Data standardization. Data standardization is the process of deliberately, permanently, and irreversibly removing or destroying data on a memory device to ensure that it cannot be recovered. Organizations need to ensure compliance with data protection and regulation by securely erasing sensitive data. Incident response process. Security incidents. Security incidents are events that indicate a breach or an attempted breach of a security policy, resulting in unauthorized access, use, disclosure, modification, or destruction of data. For example, malware infections, phishing attacks, denial of service attacks, data breaches, and insider threats. They are often associated with financial and reputational losses. Roles and responsibilities. The Incident Response Team, or the IRT, is a group of professionals responsible for responding to security incidents. Key roles of the IRT include Incident Commander, who leads the incident response effort and coordinates with other teams. Forensic Analysts, who investigate the incident and collect evidence. IT Support, who provide technical support and implement containment and recovery measures. And Legal and Compliance Officers, who ensure the responsibility and compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. NIST SP 800-61. The National Institute of Standards and Technology Special Publication 800-61 provides guidelines for handling computer service security incidents. It includes phases such as preparation, which is establishing and maintaining an incident response capability, detection and analysis, which is identifying and analyzing potential incidents, containment, eradication, and recovery, and post incident activity, which is learning from the incident and improving future response times. Preparing for an incident. It is recommended to develop and maintain an incident response plan outlining procedures, roles, and responsibilities of the IRT. Ensure the availability of necessary tools, technologies, and resources for incident detection, analysis, and response. Detecting a security incident. Modern networks and systems are complex, making it difficult to detect subtle or sophisticated attacks. Large volumes of logs and data can also obscure significant events. On top of that, high rates of false positives can overwhelm response teams and reduce efficiency. Incident precursors. Incident precursors are signs that suggest that an incident might occur in the future. Some examples of the precursors are unusual network activity, system vulnerabilities, and threat intelligence reports indicating potential attacks. Incident indicators. Incident indicators are observable signs that indicate that an incident has occurred or is occurring. These indicators include alerts from IDS, logs showing unauthorized access attempts, reports of unusual system behavior, and antivirus alerts. Isolation and containment. Isolation is the process of separating affected systems from the network to prevent further damage or spread of the threat. Containment is implementation of measures to limit the impact of the incident while maintaining some level of functionality. Measures to limit the impact of incident while maintaining some level of functionality. Recovery after an incident. After isolation and containment, we need to eradicate the root cause of the incident, which may be a malware or vulnerabilities. Next, we restore affected systems and data to normal operation. Reconstitution. Reconstitution is the process of returning all affected systems and operations to normal status after recovery. After the incident and during reconstitution, we need to verify the integrity and security of systems, ensuring that all data is accurate and complete, and fully documenting the incident and response actions. Aftermath. After the incident has occurred, we conduct a post incident review to identify what went well and what needs improvement. The incident is documented, and the response actions and lessons learned are put in an incident report. The incident response plan, policies, and procedures need to be updated based on the findings from the incident review. Incident response planning. Exercises. Exercises are an activity designed to test the effectiveness and readiness of an incident response plan. These exercises can improve the overall incident response capabilities. Tabletop exercise. A tabletop exercise is a discussion based exercise where team members meet to discuss their roles during an incident using a simulated scenario. They develop a realistic scenario that reflects potential incident, and this exercise is low stress and cost free. Walkthrough. A walkthrough is a step by step interview of the incident response plan where team members walk through the procedures to ensure understanding and completeness. It is also used to confirm that all team members understand their roles and responsibilities. Simulations. A simulation is a realistic hands on exercise where the incident response team responds to a simulated incident in real time in a live or test environment. It is used to test the technical skills of the team. Stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is the process of identifying, communicating with, and managing stakeholders who have an interest in the incident response plan. Develop strategies for keeping stakeholders informed during and after an incident, and ensure that stakeholders have realistic expectations. Communication plan. A communication plan is a detailed plan outlining how information will be communicated during and after an incident. It may be internal communication, which establishes protocols for informing employees and the incident response team, or external communications, where we define procedures for communicating with customers, partners, media, and regulators, or crisis communication, where we develop strategies for managing public relations during a high profile incident. Disaster Recovery Plan. A disaster recovery plan is a plan for restoring IT systems and data after a major disruption. It outlines detailed procedures for restoring IT systems and data. It includes details on backups, outlines the step for recovery systems, and tests the disaster recovery plan to ensure its effectiveness. Continuity of Operations Planning, or COOP. COOP is a plan that ensures the continuation of essential functions during and after a disaster. It identifies critical business functions and processes and establishes alternate sites and resources for operations. Retention policies define how long data related to incidents is retained and how it is disposed of. It specifies the retention period for logs, incident reports, and other related data, and ensures that the retention policies comply with legal and regulatory requirements.